Hello, and welcome to QCSD TV News. Today we're talking to Jeff Geiser, president of the Quakertown Soccer Club, and two players, Kira Handel and Nate Besh. This summer, the U16 boys and girls teams traveled to Europe and another group traveled to Canada. Mr. Geiser, welcome. How many players, parents, and coaches went to Europe, and where did they go?
Well, Anna, thanks for having me here. I do appreciate it. This summer we had 62 parents and players traveling to 3 countries. We had actually 34 players going. We started in Germany, in Western Germany, and then traveled through the Netherlands and then into Belgium and England, where we played a variety of games, did a lot of touring, and had some really fun activities, and brought our Quakertown community spirit to Europe.
Okay, so you kind of covered the next question, but what countries did you visit and what did you do there, if you could go into any specifics?
Sure. In each country we did a little bit different. The trip is designed to take the kids through kind of a smaller country city like Gok, Germany, where we started, and the girls played 2 games in suburban Gok, and then we traveled into the Netherlands where we hit this gigantic park called Hoge Veluwe. The kids went on bicycles around this park, went to a really nice art museum where they saw a lot of Vincent van Gogh exhibits, and then we traveled from there down into Belgium, where we went to a beautiful city called Bruges. It's very old, or as the Germans say, Brugge, and had a great time in Bruges. Played games there as well, got to mix it up and mingle with the local soccer players and families. And then from there we traveled down, up into England, where we spent time in suburban London, played our last games, traveled through the center of London, Westminster, Windsor Castle, variety of stadiums, and we stayed right next to Wembley Stadium, which was really cool.
That's interesting. Kira, please talk about the teams you played and how QSC compared. What did you learn from the game experience?
So we played 5 games in Europe. We did pretty well against them. We won 2 and lost 3. We played against some people who were 28 years old. Interacting with the players afterwards helped us learn their ways of life. Almost all of them spoke multiple languages, and everyone was so polite. A lot of us still keep in contact with them through social media. In the game, they were also kind towards us Americans, but they were still able to keep their composure and stay focused.
What would you say are the biggest impressions that you still think about the months after the trip? Would you go back, and what would you do the second time around?
So I just think that the fact that people there, they were all so kind to us is something that I'll always remember. We went to one town, and the people there, they served us this huge dinner and made us a plaque from pictures that were taken 2 hours prior to receiving it. I would go back in a heartbeat if I could. It was such a great experience. Next time if I go again, I would like to try more foods that are indigenous to their areas.
Nate, how about you? What can you tell us about the cultural impact the experience made on you?
Yeah, like Kira said, it was definitely different on the streets, especially in Germany. Walking through Gok, it was they're a lot more polite than you would say per se if you went into New York or somewhere around there. In the games, they were definitely different than the girls. It was pretty competitive, regardless of the term friendly.
Did you go back, and what would you do there?
Definitely, I would go back, and the main thing I would want to do is actually watch a professional soccer game in Wembley, just because they're so spirited about the sport.
Okay. Finally, Jeff, can you tell us why QSC organizes these trips and how fundraising figures into it?
That's a great question, Anna. We started these trips about 9 years ago, and most of the athletes go on a 4-day trip to Ottawa, Canada first, before they're able to go on the Europe trip. So the planning is long, and we try to structure it so the kids have a great time, the adults have a great time, but they kind of have to prove themselves in Ottawa, Canada, where we have friendlies there first at under 13. And then if they're willing to go to Europe, we go. The fundraising starts well over a year in advance. It requires a lot of work from teammates, the family members, the players to make it happen. But most people actually fundraise most of the trip. So Quakertown Soccer Club thinks that traveling internationally with our players is a great way to help them remember their soccer experience. I always say it's great to win a title at U12, but you'll always remember your time in Bruges or London, and it's a great experience that we want them to just take with them to the next level with their kids someday.
Sounds like a great experience. Kira and Nate, how much fundraising did you do, and what would you say to the kids who are considering making the effort to go on a trip like this?
Yeah, like Coach Jeff said, it was definitely a process for fundraising about over a year, but the whole thing was definitely worth it when you got to Europe. So earlier in the club, you would go to Canada, and that's a great startup. And then when you get to Europe, I would definitely say take the time and effort to put into fundraising to get there.
Okay, so I fundraised with the help of my family the majority of the trip. To the kids who are thinking about going, I think that you guys should totally take the opportunity, just because as you get older, it gets much more difficult to travel. So when you have an opportunity like this, you should just take it.
Hey, well, it sounds like you guys had a great trip. Thank you all for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sounds like it was a